discussing some of my personal paranormal experiences, or what I believe to be paranormal. And I'm also going to be sharing some stories that have come from family members or friends. And yeah, I just thought this would be a interesting video to do. I've always loved watching spooky movies and TV shows about ghost hunting and stuff, even though a lot of them are really cheesy and bad. Also, I took some very brief notes for this video, just essentially laying out the different stories that I'm going to cover so I didn't forget any of them. And I had something happen to me at work after I took these notes, so I did not include this in the notes, but I will talk about that briefly at the end of the video. It was just kind of a weird thing. I don't necessarily think it was paranormal per se, but it was, I don't know, it fits in with the topic of the video. And speaking of that, I do know that not everyone believes in paranormal activity, things of that nature. That is totally fine, and I completely understand. I'm not a complete believer in it, but I'm also not a skeptic. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not really in the middle. I'm more leaning towards it's real, but I know that not everyone believes in this stuff, and that's fine. This is just meant to be a fun, lighthearted video. I do just want to mention that the AC is turned off once again because I don't want it to make noise during this video, so I am hot, but I'm powering through. It is very hot here today where I live, and I'm trying to not think about it too much, but it'll be alright. And yeah, is there anything else I need to say? I don't think so. Yeah, I used to watch all kinds of different paranormal shows when I was growing up, and I loved Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. I also really love the BuzzFeed Unsolved videos, the Shane and Ryan videos, and I also watched the show called Paranormal State. Everyone that I've asked about this show has never heard of it, so if you've heard of this show, please let me know, because I was obsessed with it. And then there was this British TV show called Most Haunted, and they would go to castles and stuff, and it was amazing. I loved that show. It started to kind of go off the rails towards the later seasons that I saw. It seemed like they were faking a lot of the experiences in the show. But yeah, I'm gonna get into my first story, and this happened when there's an abandoned strip mall type thing where I live, and I was being rebellious with my friend and her boyfriend, and we used to break into this building all the time. I would, with people, random people, whatever. Like, I would do it a lot, and it was really dumb, but it was just something to do when you're a teenager, you know? So it's a creepy area because it's abandoned, but there was actually this building that was separate from the strip mall that was 2 stories. So we were in this building, and we were in the upstairs area, and it was summer, so it was really hot up there, and some of the foundation of the building is open, so light streams in, but there's obviously no electricity, there's no lighting. So we were up there, and my friend and her boyfriend were in front of me, and like I said, it was really hot, it was summer, and all of a sudden I just felt super cold, and I felt almost a breeze brush by my neck, and then I felt somebody or something tap on my shoulder, like someone trying to get your attention. I felt that on my shoulder, and I whipped my head around, and obviously nobody was there. My friends were in front of me, and my friend kind of saw me do that, and she was like, "What happened?" And I told her, and we all got freaked out and we left. And I've heard from other people experienced there, and it was in that separate building, like I said. So I don't know, it was really creepy, and I think that was the last time I ever went there. And I'm honestly very surprised that I never got caught or like injured while I was going into these buildings. It was a really dumb idea. The next story is a little bit more explainable, I guess. I don't know. But I was over at my ex-boyfriend's house, and he lived in a really old house, and it really wasn't creepy though, because this was when I was young. I was 16 probably, and his family had put a lot of work into the house, so it wasn't really old looking anymore. So it wasn't that creepy. It wasn't an older feeling house, but the basement was creepy because it was kind of an unfinished basement. And one time I was at his house, and I think his sister was home, and she was downstairs. And that's why I say this is a little bit more explainable, because I'll just get into it. So we were upstairs, and I think that we were watching TV or something in his room, and then I was starting to get ready to leave the house because we were gonna go to this party thing at his friend's house that lived right down the road, so we were just gonna walk there, but that doesn't even matter anyway. So I was getting ready in the bathroom. I got up and went to the bathroom, and I shut the door, and I was just doing my makeup at the sink, and I started to hear this little, when I say little, because it wasn't like someone was banging on the door, but it was like a tapping sound. Like, this is really creepy. It almost sounded like someone was using their fingertips. Like, it was so subtle. It was such a subtle knocking noise, but it was like on the door. And so I opened the door, and there was nobody there. So I thought, whatever. And they also didn't have any pets, by the way. But so I shut the door, and I just continued getting ready. And then it happened again, like probably a minute later. So I opened the door again, but this time I go into my boyfriend's room, and I said, "Did you knock on the door?" And he said no, and he was on the phone with his friend. And so I asked him if his sister needed to go to the bathroom or something, even though they had a bathroom downstairs too. Why wouldn't she just use that bathroom? But I asked him, and he said, "I don't know." So I just thought, okay, whatever. I went back into the bathroom, and it happened the second that I shut the door, literally. And I whip open the door, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? So then I went down, kind of there, the staircase. You can see kind of, it's not like a closed off staircase, it was just open. So I go down there, and his sister is just sitting on the couch eating food. So it's like, did she really run all the way upstairs and do that? I don't think so. I think maybe it was some kind of like maybe there was something with the foundation of the home that was making it make that noise. I don't know. It was really, really weird, and I felt weird that whole night. I just felt really off and creeped out. So that was my second story. And then lastly, I just have a couple instances where I've been places and just sensed a really strange energy, and I don't want to sound like one of those hippy-dippy chicks who's like, yeah, I just pick up on everyone's energy, you know, but I really have been in quite a few places where I've just felt like the vibe was off and something was just off. And I can't necessarily think of specific places, but there is this little market or bodega, whatever you want to call it, in my town that is not even really that old of a building, but it's also not super new. But every time I've gone in there, I want to run out. It's a really weird thing. Like, I can't even. And I think the only times I've really been in there is when other people wanted to stop. I haven't been there willingly for myself. It's just a really weird feeling. The next story is actually one that happened to my mom. restaurant with my entire family, and it was in a city that we were visiting. And apparently, this restaurant is known to be haunted, and they have memorabilia and merch and stuff that has ghosts on it, so they really feed into this idea, which I always find a little bit weird. But anyway, we were there, and my mom is not somebody who particularly believes in paranormal activity. She doesn't not believe, but she doesn't full on believe. But we were getting up out of our table area and walking towards the door, and all of a sudden, we were all in front of her, she was behind us, and all of a sudden I heard her gasp, like, really loud. And I guess it wasn't really loud because we were in a restaurant, but it was loud enough for me to hear. And I whipped my head around and I saw her face, and she just looked terrified. And I asked her if she was okay, what happened. And I was actually pretty young, I remember, when this happened, because I vividly remember it in my mind. I just remember how scared she looked, and I've never seen her look that scared, so it really stuck out in my mind, and I still remember it so vividly to this day. But I asked her if she was okay, and she said yeah. And then when we got outside and we got into the car, she explained what happened, and she said that she heard someone giggle behind her, and it wasn't like a giggle far away, it was right up behind her head, like right next to her ear. And then she felt someone tug on her hair, and it was kind of late. I remember when we were here, we were some of the only people left in the restaurant, and it could have been a situation where someone quickly ran up behind her and did that, but I was right there, and she whipped her head around really, really quickly after she gasped, and I saw her, and I really don't think that there was anybody behind her, and I don't know, it was very, very creepy to me, because like I said, I had never seen my mom look that scared, and to this day, she stands by the fact that it happened, and it's just really, really freaky when you experience something like that. It's not happening to you, but you're seeing it happen to someone that you're very close to, and you know their mannerisms and their reactions, so that really stood out to me. The next story I'm going to tell is a story that my boyfriend told me. My boyfriend is actually pretty skeptical of paranormal activity and aliens and all that, so coming from him, this was kind of wild, and this happened, I guess, somewhat recently. I don't remember exactly what he told me, but it's kind of short. It's just a brief thing, because he never really gets into detail about things. He just, like, explains it. So he said that he was with a couple of his friends from work, and they were all hanging out at one of his friend's house in the kitchen after work, and all of a sudden all of them that were in the kitchen, I think there was just two others, it was like 4 people total, and they all heard this plate scrape across the table in the other room. So it was, you know what I mean, when a plate or a cup or something like that scraping noise, and they all heard it. They all jerked their heads towards the direction that they heard it, and they all just were like, what the fuck was that? They just kind of looked at each other and were confused, and obviously there was someone sitting over there, but it sounded like someone was moving a plate. He said it sounded like someone was moving a plate towards them at a table. So that was weird, and he seemed genuinely spooked by that, because like I said, he isn't usually that into paranormal stuff. So yeah, okay. Now the last story I'm going to tell is one that my friend told me, one of my friends, and this one is pretty recent. She actually told me like a week ago, I think. So she just moved into an older home in my city where she's renting part of the house. So it's not a duplex, but I think there's 3 or 4 different sections of this house. It's kind of like a big Victorian style mansion that's been sectioned off, so she's renting one section of the home, and she's in the upstairs, in one of the upstairs areas of this house. And she said that when she first moved in, everything was normal, like, you know, nothing seemed weird. She wasn't really creeped out or anything. She is living by herself, but there's other people in this home, you know, so. But then she said that a couple days after she had moved in and stayed the night there and everything, she started to hear this creaking in the middle of the night, but it's an old house, so she kind of just brushed it off. But then one of those days that she heard the creaking, she went out into her kitchen, because she has like a small kitchen area in her apartment, I guess you could call it an apartment, and she saw that one of her cabinet doors was open, and she just shut it, you know, thinking that she had left it open from the night before. But then it started to happen every single night since that day that it was open. And so she'll just hear the creaking noise that sounds like it's coming from the kitchen. And she said that the creaking is almost like someone is just walking. It's not pacing or a repetitive noise. It's just like footsteps almost. And so the very, very creepy thing about that is that every time that she goes out into the kitchen in the morning, the same cupboard door is open. It's always the same one, and it's one that's under her sink. So she doesn't, I don't know if it's happened like every single night. I don't think that she said it happens every night, but it happens a lot since she's moved into this place, and I think she's been there for a few months now. So yeah, she just told me about this the other day, and I was really freaked out, and that actually is kind of what inspired me to make this video, so shout out to you, girl. Oh, I forgot to mention the story from my work. So like I said, I had already taken notes for this video and stuff, but when I was, and this is a really short story, and it's probably explainable, my work is in an old building though too. And I was there the other day, and I was with my manager, but she was in a completely different area of my work than I was. So I was standing by my computer. I think I was getting up and I was gonna go over to wash my hands or something. And I started going towards the sink area, and I heard just like a loud sigh, like like that. And it was in front of me in this room that I was facing, not the room with the sink in it, but a room farther away almost. I could just tell what direction it was coming from. And my manager was in a room that was behind me. And I was just really weirded out by that. It was really weird. I don't know if that's just, the sound just traveled that way. Maybe it was her. I didn't ask. I'm not gonna ask, did you just sigh? Like, I don't know, but another one of my coworkers, actually, now I'm just remembering this, she told me that one day she closed at work. She was locking up and everything, and then the next morning she had to go in and open everything up. So she said that there was a couple times where she would do this, like she would be the last to leave and the first to be there in the morning, and there was this pen that would be in the same spot every single morning, kind of like my friend's cabinet. It was always the same pen in the same spot, like someone knocked it off the counter. And I don't know if it's just, like I said, the way the building is made, it's old, maybe it tipped over or something, but yeah, just a little weird thing. And yeah, that's all of the stories that I have to tell. I know there's not that many, I don't have that many experiences, but I am just super interested in paranormal stuff. Like I said, I'm not a complete believer, but I'm not a skeptic by any means. I definitely think there's some weird stuff that can happen out there. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little video, and if you would like to comment your ghost stories below, you know, maybe that'd be fun if you want to type all of it out, or if you had a weird occurrence happen. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching / listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.